Hello students, today we're doing lesson 9.3 and this is on rates. So a rate is a ratio that compares two different units, and to find a rate, or let's talk about maybe some rates that you may have heard about before. Let's say you're driving 65 miles per hour. Okay, that is a rate. Miles per hour tells you that you're doing 65 miles every 1 hour. Okay, and so if I drove for 2 hours, then you can figure out how many miles you drove. Instead of 65, it would be double that because you did 65 in 1 hour. So it would be 130 miles in 2 hours, right? So both of these are rates. Let's do example one. Example one says to simplify. Remember, simplify is kind of like saying you're doing something in lowest terms. 162 miles over 3 hours. Okay, so this is the way it's written in the book, so I wrote it the same way, is they have that slash mark, but that's the same as a fraction. So it's 162 miles per every 3 hours. So if they want to know how far you went in 1 hour or what your rate was, the rate is how far you went in 1 hour. So your bottom number needs to become a 1 in order for it to be like the rate you were driving. What was the rate you were driving? So the way to do that is you can always go like this, 162 over 3. So remember, this is miles and hours, equals, well, we don't know the miles, but we do want it into 1 hour, right? The rate means that it's going to be in 1 hour. So we could do the same way we learned how to do proportions last time and go 3 times x, and then do 162 times 1, and then divide by 3. Okay, so when I do this, I get 54, and the top number where my x is, that's miles, right? Because our top is miles. Now, there's a more simple one when you're doing rates, because this number down here, when you're doing a rate, will always be 1. So you don't have to do all this setup of this kind of a proportion. You can just take the 162 and divide by 3. So you just take this fraction and turn it into a division problem. And that's where I got my 54 from, when I divided by 3. Okay, so that's the way we're going to be doing some of these rates that we're going to be doing. Okay, example 2 says, well, on example 2, it's different because it's not asking for just 1. A lot of rates change it to 1, but I guess they don't all do that. So example 2 says to write a proportion and solve it. An athlete's resting heart beats 112 times. So this is how much it's beating. So this is 112 beats every 2 minutes. So they want you to find out how much it beats in 5 minutes. So I'm going to write a proportion for that. And I want to stress to you that when it says in the instructions to write a proportion, you have to write a proportion. That's part of the problem. If you don't follow the directions, if you just figure it out on your own in a different way, that's not following instructions. So you have to learn how to write proportions. So we start out with the 112 beats for every 2 minutes, and that's going to equal over here, I don't know how many beats, so that's x, in every 5 minutes. So the 5 minutes goes at the bottom because the 2 was minutes. So if this is minutes, this should be minutes. Easy way to set up proportions. Okay, so now I'm going to solve. 2 times x is 2x. 112 times 5 is, let's see, I'm going to try to do this on my own because I don't have my calculator open. And then, so it's 560. Then I'm going to divide by 2. And I get x equals 280. And that 280 is the beats, right? 280 beats every 5 minutes. So this is the part that you have to write down. If we're doing a word problem, you need to get in those units. Okay, those are all the examples that's in your book. There are some in the skills check, but we're going to do some of the skills check together in this section. So turn to page 288, skills check, so that you can look at them with me, what they're talking about. Okay, so I'll give you a second to go and turn to page 288. So, number 1 says, state a situation where each rate might be used. So, the first one says they write it in 2 ways. Miles per hour like this, and then they put underneath it MPH, because this is how you'll see it like in your car. That's how fast you're going. So, I just gave you an example for number 1. Miles per hour would tell you how fast you're going in your car. Okay, number 2, words over minutes. Or that little slash, you can also say per. So words per minute. Where would you see something where they're talking about words per minute? You could maybe do it for how much someone reads, how many words per minute they read, or how much they type. Okay, there may be other instances, but those are 2 that I know of. Okay, dollars per hour. Oops, dollars per hour, and that one doesn't have a shortened one, but this could be, what do you think, dollars per hour? It could be how much you make at work, so how much money you're making, right? And or how much you're paying to somebody to work. How much you pay someone to work. So if you're the boss, you might be saying, well, I'm going to pay you $10 per every hour that you work. So that's where you might see that. Last one is revolutions per minute. And this one has a short one, RPM. Okay, where do you think that might be used? Okay, well, revolutions per minute would be RPM. That is in a car most of the time. You see that, like how often the engine rotates. I don't know, revolutions, anything with a wheel because it's revolving could be the revolutions per minute. Okay, next 5 through 8 on here are simplifying each rate, and then they have a solving section. So what I want you to do is on 5 through 8, it says simplify each rate. That means make them into one. So like on number 5, we can do that one together real quick. It says 168 miles in 3 hours. So they want you to figure out what the rate is, means, or simplifying it means how much is in 1 hour. So remember, to do that, we just do 168 divided by 3. So that would be 5, and then that would be 6. So this would be 56 miles per hour is the rate that they're going. Okay, so I want you to hit pause and do 6, 7, and 8 on your own, and then come back and we'll talk about the answers. So go ahead and hit pause. Okay, if you're back now, let's look at number 6. Number 6 said 432 words in 9 minutes. Okay, so remember, when you're doing these type, it's just a division. So you can take your calculator and just, since we are using calculators now, you can do 432 divided by 9, and you get 48 words per minute. Okay, and then number 7 was $54 for 12 hours. So you do 54 divided by 12, and that means that that person is making $4.50 per hour. Okay, and then number 8 says 1,314 revolutions in 18 minutes. So you take the 1314 or 1,314 divided by 18, and that gives you 73 revolutions per minute is RPM. Okay, and on all of these, you need to have those words with it, not just a number. Okay, the last part of the skills check is on the next page, 289, and it says to solve 9 and 10. 9 says, oh, well, I'm going to have you hit pause and do 9 and 10 on your own, and then come back and I'll do them with you. So go ahead and hit pause. Okay, so coming back to number 9, it says a plumber charges $68 for 4 hours of work. And what is his rate per hour? So that means I'm just going to divide the 68, divide it by 4, and that gives me $17 per hour. And that's the way you can write out those type. Okay, and then number 10 is a little bit harder because it says apples are on sale 3 for $1.44. So then it says how much will 7 apples cost. So this one you have to actually do a proportion for. The 7 goes on top because this is talking about the apples on the top, remember? And then the bottom is talking about money. So both of these are money. So when I do my cross multiplication, I get 3x. And then I need to do the 7 times $1.44. And I get $10.08. And then I'm going to divide by 3. So when I do that on my calculator, I get $3.36. So that's how much the apples are going to cost for 7 apples. Okay, so that's it. You should be able to do the rest of the exercises after going through this lesson with me. Thanks.